It's not what they did, it's how they said it. These are real confessions from real killers. Some cry, others speak with chilling calm, and one didn't even know he was being recorded. No script, no actors, just the raw sound of truth, captured forever. This video is not for everyone, but once you start watching, you'll want to see it through to the end. February 13th, 2017, Abby Williams and Libby German, two teenage girls between just 13 and 14, vanish while walking a forest trail in Delphi, Indiana. The next day, their bodies are found near a creek. The scene is disturbing, but the most chilling part wasn't what was found. It was what one of the victims managed to record. Libby, moments before the attack, caught the voice of the man following them on her phone. Down the hill. A command, an order, the beginning of the end. For years, police had no solid leads, but in 2022, a forgotten detail resurfaces. Richard Allen had admitted being on the trail that day. His home was searched, his firearm seized, and then the key piece of evidence appeared, a .40 caliber cartridge found near the bodies. It hadn't been fired, but microscopic marks matched Allen's gun. It had been loaded, and that was enough. Not long after, from inside prison, Richard Allen made several phone calls. In one of them, to his wife. He speaks broken. What you're about to hear lasts just 6 seconds, but it's enough to know there's no turning back.
I did it. No, I did it.
What?
I killed Abby. I killed Abby and Libby.
He says it almost in a whisper, no anger, no fear, just acceptance. And in those few words, you can feel the weight of two lives that will never come back. His defense claims mental instability. The prosecution answers with the audio. The voice is his. The confession, too. For decades, Robert Durst was untouchable. Heir to one of New York's wealthiest families, he lived surrounded by lawyers, real estate, and suspicion. 3 deaths followed his name like a shadow. His wife, who vanished without a trace. A neighbor found dismembered, and his best friend executed in her home. But no one could ever convict him, until he betrayed himself. In 2015, while filming the HBO documentary The Jinx, Durst finished an interview and went to the bathroom. What he didn't know was that his microphone was still on, and when he thought no one was listening, he said it. What you're about to hear is real. A short, unedited excerpt from a documentary recording, captured by chance, used here for storytelling and analysis. It remains one of the most unsettling moments ever caught on a live mic.
I'm having difficulty with the question. What the hell did I do? Kill them all. Of course.
He says it almost like he's talking to himself. No pressure, no police, no stage, just silence and his own voice. The documentary team didn't even catch it at first. It took them nearly 2 years to find the clip, but once they did, everything changed. Weeks later, Robert Durst was arrested. In 2021, he was sentenced to life in prison for the murder of Susan Berman. He died in custody not long after. A whispered sentence in a bathroom resolved what decades of trials, headlines, and lawyers never could. It wasn't justice that made him talk. It was silence. October 31st, 2005. Teresa Halbach, a 25-year-old photographer, had one last appointment that day, to take pictures of a car for a magazine. The location, Stephen Avery's property in Wisconsin. She never came back home. 5 days later, her car was found completely destroyed by fire. Inside it, her camera. On the hood, traces of blood, and nearby, buried in ashes, identifiable human remains. All of it in Avery's backyard. Police arrested him immediately, but the story doesn't end there. Brendan Dassey, his 16-year-old nephew, is called in to testify. He has learning difficulties, he doesn't understand what's at stake. They interrogate him without a lawyer, without his mother, for hours. At first, he denies everything. Then, he starts repeating what they suggest. He changes the details, contradicts himself, until finally, he says exactly what the detectives want to hear. The following voice lines are based on real statements. AI technology was used to recreate these declarations for narrative purposes. This content is for informational and storytelling use only, and does not intend to misrepresent or impersonate any individual.
He told me she was tied to the bed and that she was handcuffed. Then he told me to do it, and I did. After that, we put her in the fire. We waited by the garage until it all burned out.
That confession unstable, confusing, and caught on video, was enough to convict him. Even though experts claimed it was coerced, the jury only needed to hear one thing: the confession. February 1999. 3 tourists, Carol Sund, her daughter Yuli, and her friend Silvina Peloso, vanish after staying at a motel near Yosemite National Park. Weeks later, their car is found. Inside, human remains. Shortly after, Julie's body is discovered in a different location. The case shocks the nation. 5 months later, another woman, Joy Armstrong, a park guide, is found dead near her cabin. The FBI connects the cases. The clues point to someone who knew the area well: Cary Stayner, a maintenance worker at the motel. Quiet, polite. They arrest him at a restaurant, and what he does next changes everything. When he finally sat down with the FBI agent, Cary Stayner didn't wait for a single question. He broke the silence on his own. "It was me. I killed all 4 of them," spoke without raising his voice, then explained how he did it step by step, how he chose his victims, how he watched them, how he acted, and without being asked, he left behind a sentence that still echoes in the case files to this day. "I always knew I was going to kill someone. Ever since I was a kid, I was just waiting for the right moment." But the most unsettling part isn't just his confession, it's his family history. Cary was the older brother of Stephen Stayner, a boy who was kidnapped in 1972 and held captive for 7 years. Stephen managed to escape, rescued another child, and was hailed as a national hero. While the country celebrated the brother who came back, the other one was quietly falling apart. One family, 2 opposite fates. January 24th, 1989. Ted Bundy, 42 years old, waits for his execution at Florida State Prison. He has been convicted of multiple murders. His crimes span several states. The victims, young women and college students. For years, he evaded the police, changed identities, and escaped twice. At first glance, he seemed harmless, polite, intelligent. But behind that facade hid a dangerous mind. He was captured in 1978, convicted for the murder of 2 students at Florida State University. Dozens more cases were later added. Yet even after his capture, Bundy denied everything. Cold, calculated until the very end. Hours before his execution, he agreed to an interview with James Dobson, an evangelical psychologist. It was his only public confession. He showed no remorse. He didn't ask for forgiveness. He spoke about his childhood, about the influence of pornography, about his dark side. He never gave names, never fully took responsibility. He only left one sentence behind: "Don't blame me, blame society." His voice was recorded, his face emotionless. It was his final confession, not for justice, only because he could no longer avoid it.
For the record, you are guilty of killing many women and girls. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes, that's true.
And with that confession, the last veil fell. He was no longer the brilliant student, nor the charming young man. He was simply what he had always been, a predator who only took off the mask when he had nothing left to lose. Evil doesn't always scream. Sometimes it whispers, sometimes it hides between pauses, contradictions, or excuses, but once it's recorded, it can't be erased. Today, you heard real confessions. Some forced, others inevitable, but all of them left a mark. Once you hear them, you can't pretend you didn't. Subscribe if you want to keep exploring the recordings that shaped history. Some of them still haven't come to light.